We're on. Taylin Simmonds, part two. Thank you for coming on. How you doing today?
Good man, good. I just got back from a workout. I just chugged three Coke Zeros, and I'm like fired up and ready to go. Brain is in like full go 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 mode. So yeah, I'm excited to be back.
Let's go. I love that. And I know
Yeah,
you're
man.
waking up at like 3 a.m. right now to build this cohort. So can you tell me a little bit about this cohort, what it's going to look like? What's your daily schedule look like leading up to this?
Yeah, dude, it's been a lot of work. Getting up at 3 or 4 a.m. because I also have like investments and like rental units that I got to take care of, plus running the ghostwriting agency. I just found that when I was getting up at like 8 or 9, from the second I was up, it's like my phone was ringing, I was in calls all day, and I wasn't able to be very productive. And I was messaging my copywriter who's helping me with the cohort launch, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I was the most productive when I was waking up at 3 a.m." And we were just kind of shooting the shit about it. And he's like, yeah, we could do a whole accountability thing and actually help each other get up at 3 a.m. to be more productive. And I'm like, that's gonna suck, but I'll try it. And honest to God, since I started getting up at anywhere between 3 and 4 is usually what I aim for. My productivity is insane. Like I finish most of like the stuff I need to get done before the sun's even up, and then I take a work break and I just sit outside and like watch the sunrise. And I'm like, the day's like already done. We're good.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How are you keeping the discipline to wake up at that time? Because I know myself, if I did that for like 1 or 2 days, by the third day, I'd probably be like, all right, this is just too much.
You know, Dale and I were chatting about this actually at lunch today, like my co-founder, about he had this really wise thing he said. He said, your character is defined by the rules you set for yourself. And I like heard that and was like, holy shit, like he's so right. Like you can tell a person's character by what rules they have. So like in your case, if you go to the gym like 5 days a week, that's like a rule that defines your character. If you like do deep work 4 hours a day, that defines your character because those are the rules you set for your life. And one thing that I'm working on is being more true to my word and like actually when I say something, I'm gonna do it. So the second I told Ryan, like, yeah, dude, I'll get up at 3 a.m. with you, and then I told Dale, I told Dakota, and Dakota fucking laughed at me. He was like, you're gonna do that for maybe like a couple days, and there's no way you're gonna keep doing it. And I was just like, no, like I said it. It doesn't matter if it sucks. Like I want my character to be defined as someone who stays true to his word. And because I said I was gonna do that till after my launch, I have to do it because I don't want to become the person who doesn't like follow through with the things that I say I'm going to do. So that's been a strong enough why for me to actually do it.
I love that philosophy. And there's no worse feeling than like setting an intention to do something and then not doing it. And I've been guilty of that so much in my life. But when you set
Mm.
yourself that rule and then you actually stick to it, that's how you build self confidence. Hormozy has a great quote. It's like you don't build confidence by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You build it by having an
Yeah,
undeniable stack of evidence that you are the person you say you are. And like every day you wake up at 3
real.
a.m., that character builds. So what are you
Yep.
working on specifically for the cohort in those early hours?
Yeah. So for the cohort, we are really deep in what I call like the pre-launch campaign. Like we want to do it right. And one thing that I'm saying to myself is I don't think we're going to hit like $500,000 in revenue. Like I don't, it's like almost impossible, like impossible that we actually hit that number. But I ask myself, what type of things would I have to do to hit 500,000 in revenue? And like, let's do those things. So starting Friday coming up, so like a week from today, we're going to do 10 days where there's a newsletter a day, a thread a day. We're going to weave videos into the threads, like that are actually showing people how to do all the actionable advice. We're going to give away a free video course for those that don't feel like they can drop the money right now or afford the cohort. We got to get the affiliate marketing ready. We got to get the copy ready, the design. We got to get the custom code, the back end like upsells. Like there's just so much that has to be done to do this pre-launch campaign at the level that I feel someone would do it to hit $500,000. So we're feeling the time crunch for sure, and just like writing so much content, figuring out in the marketing, like what things should we be talking about? What things do we feel are going to get people excited about this cohort? How can we make it not just another cohort that people are doing on Twitter, but an experience that people are actually excited about? And that's what we've been spending a lot of our time on. So literally when I get up, it's like, okay, if I just at least write the marketing content and get that done, then that would be like a big needle mover before I get caught in like emails and calls and operations and all that crap.
Gotcha. And I think the timing of this podcast should line up well because I plan on releasing this next Friday. So when you start launching all this, so hopefully that
Oh,
adds a
nice.
little bit of traction there for you. As
Yeah.
far as like the intricacies of this cohort, like can you talk about some of the core philosophies or core ideas that might separate this from other Twitter growth, Twitter personal branding academies out there?
Yeah, so the whole growth aspect, like I'm actually not a big fan of. And I'd say where I'm really excited about with this cohort is this is something that I actually truly believe in. Like I'm so bullish and passionate on this idea, and that's allowing me to finally do something that I just feel I'm really excited about. Like ghostwriting is cool. I like ghostwriting. I like the money that you can make ghostwriting, but I never felt like I woke up in the morning and was passionate about ghostwriting. Like what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing now is something I'm just like, yes, I believe people should do this. Let's go. And it's a cohort based around building your digital identity, which is the term that my co-founder and I, Dale, coined for personal brands. And it's like, okay, build your digital identity because that is the one thing that you can do that will actually fix almost every area of your life. And I truly believe that. Like, that sounds like such a huge ask, but it's like, okay, in order to execute at the highest quality as a top creator, you have to build the habits to create really good content. You have to like be very intentional with what you're creating. You have to understand your market. You have to understand yourself. So you have this major self-improvement vehicle that's pushing you to be the best version of yourself so you can share that online as an extension of who you are. As you're also scaling, you're growing a quality audience, and I'll come back to that in a sec because I think that's really important. We're talking quality audience growth here and influence. You are going to get so many income opportunities, whether it's being able to launch a business and already having a customer base for people to sign up, whether it's getting other job opportunities that you wouldn't have got otherwise because your quote unquote digital resume is so good that people just hire you over your competitors. There's also like mentorship opportunities, like with ghostwriting. No one really talks about this, but I think the mentorship opportunities are the best part of ghostwriting. Everyone always talks about making 10K per month, but like, dude, I've landed mentorships from entrepreneurs worth like $100 million because I ghostwrite for them, and they've just coached me on online business. Like, that's insane. The only reason I got those opportunities is because I built a digital identity. Like it just solves so many problems in your life. Like you can travel the world, you can be free, you can launch businesses, you can work whenever you want to. Like you're doing self improvement. Like you have all these opportunities. It's just like it's the one thing that'll just fix so many areas. So why not just do them instead of like selectively fixing them one thing at a time? Like just knock like five of them off the board and just make your life instantly better. And that's why I'm so bullish on this. Like it changed my life, and I want to like show other people. You build this quality audience, your life will actually change in a meaningful way. You're talking about confidence. You want evidence? Like build a digital identity. You'll be confident. You will have evidence of like your capabilities.
I can 100% resonate with everything you said and second everything you said because if I go back a year ago, I was into all this self improvement stuff, but like there was nobody to share that experience with. And I was just like some random college kid doing all this on my own. Nobody knew about me. But because I decided to start sharing my ideas online, like I would have never met you had I not shared my ideas online.
Yeah.
And because we had that connection, you actually referred me to a ghostwriting client, which helped me leave college and then do this full time. And now I'm like scaling my own personal coaching and like helping people at scale with the stuff I was doing beforehand with like the personal development, the systems, the productivity, all that stuff I was learning. Now I can share it at scale because of this digital identity. And
Yeah.
another thing that really resonates is like the opportunities begin to come to you once you build that digital resume because
Yeah.
a year ago, nobody knew my name. And then just a couple weeks ago, I got an offer for a ghostwriting gig, like a full-time ghostwriting gig, full-time job, moved to Austin, Texas, like over 100K salary. And this is for somebody who just dropped out of college and like has no formal resume. I don't even have a resume. My resume
Yeah.
is my Twitter account, which is wild. And so for
Yeah.
anybody out there that's like maybe on the border or skeptical of like, okay, like I could see like maybe this would help, but I don't know if it would really help that much. Like my job, my college, that's more important. I don't know. I'm speaking from experience that opportunities have come to me by building this digital identity that I never would have expected, but you just have to like take a step and get your foot in the arena. And then once you're in the arena, I have this idea of like, as long as you stay in the arena and you don't quit, you can't lose. You only lose if you quit the game. If you just stay in the game
Yeah.
for a long enough time, eventually you figure out your niche within that game. And I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of like your niche within that game is you. So I
Yeah.
was wondering if we could talk a little bit more on like that niche of one idea with the personal brand and digital identity.
Yeah, of course. The niche one is it's a big problem for a lot of creators in the beginning, and I know I struggled with it. Like, dude, I started as like a men's dating account, which is so funny to think about now because I just would never like post about that kind of stuff. I was like generic self-improvement, I was psychology, I was stoicism, and then Dakota kind of like forced me into being a writing account. He's like, "No, you're gonna do writing. It's gonna work. It's your niche. You're a good writer." And I was like, "All right, Daddy Dak, whatever." And I like went into like writing, but where I'm at like now with the whole niche thing is I actually think it's more complex and everyone's like it's niche of one or it's like niche into transformation. I look at it like this is first off, like what are your goals? Like is your goal to build an audience to monetize? Okay, if your goal is to monetize, then you have to kind of play with the market a little bit because you need other people to like give you money in exchange for value. So like what does the market find valuable? What like little segments of the market will find what you have to offer valuable? So let's say that you're like, okay, well, I'm a marketer. It's like, okay, cool. That's a very broad niche. That's like maybe a little too broad to like monetize right away. But then I like Kieran Drew's thing. Kieran Drew's like niche into transformation. I think it's great. It's like, okay, I'm not only a marketer, I'm actually a ghostwriter who helps founders build maybe like digital identities so that they can sell their products and make like 6 figures a year. It's like, okay, cool. That's a cool transformation. It's like personal brand to income. Or to like make it more granular, maybe you could do email copywriting that gets grows you a newsletter by like 5,000 subs per month so you can monetize it or sell it later. It's like, great, good transformation, like newsletter, this many followers. Like once you have the transformation aspect, I think it becomes a lot easier to monetize a brand. And the reason people sleep on it is because you can't do the transformation aspect without skills. So you have to learn the high value skills to be able to offer it. And that's one of the hurdles that people have to overcome is skill acquisition. But I think it's totally worth it. Now, getting into the next part of your question with like the niche of one, I actually think that the niche of one thing is more about positioning within the niche than being the niche itself. Because let's say that I'm like a writing account and I'm a content, I talk about content creation. My experiences as a content creator become my unique perspective that I'm able to talk about. And that's my positioning within the market. So there's like maybe Dan Coe talks about content, Kieran Drew talks about content, Dakota does, I think Matt Nick does as well, like I do. But I have very different experiences from them. So although we're in the same niche, I guess you could kind of argue that I'm like the niche of one, but I just look at it as positioning. Like if I see a popular topic, like what might be one for content creation, like write viral hooks. It's like, viral hooks perform really well. They're what 80% of your content is going to credit the results to. It's like, okay, what is my experience writing hooks? What things have helped me? How do I actually internalize it and make sense of it so that I can replicate a process? And then when I share that, that becomes my unique position on a popular topic that everyone else talks about. I think that's how you play the content creation game effectively is you look at what things are popular, you try them in the real world, you implement them till you understand them, and then you share the experience of implementation and the results that you got, and that becomes your positioning within the niche.
Yes, I love that. And to piggyback off of it, something that I've noticed recently is okay, you take these more broad concepts, like let's say how to grow on Twitter, how to write a good hook, or just how to stay aligned, how to get on self improvement, and you filter it through the way you see the world. And so, what
Yeah.
I've transitioned more into lately is like the philosophy and spirituality aspect. And because
Yeah.
my content has shifted more that way, the people who I'm getting attention from on my tweets and the people who are coming to me for coaching and mentorship and consulting, they all resonate with that unique message. They're like, I haven't seen other creators talk about spirituality in terms of like how to become a creator. I
Yeah.
really resonate with like your stuff, Justin Scott's stuff, Dan's stuff, and they come to you, they're attracted to you because you are signifying something that they look up to. And so that's why I'm a big fan of like whatever your unique take is on the world, share that, right? Or else you're going to blend in with all the other accounts. And so a problem that I think I see on Twitter right now is like there's so many people just doing the same exact things. Like they're talking about how to grow. They're trying to grow an account by talking about how to grow. So let's say somebody come into your cohort under that mindset. How do you think they transition from that more broad platitude-ish type of content to something that actually separates them?
Yeah, so a few action steps I would say is first off, uniqueness is self-awareness plus courage. I truly believe that as a content creator. Like your unique content is first you have to have the self-awareness to know what do I actually think about this? How do I actually feel about this? What is my experience with this topic? And then you have to have the courage to actually share it, even though you could be rejected for your authentic self. So I think that's the first
Mm.
step is a lot of people are very afraid of failure and posting something that is maybe a little risky and that could get them quote unquote canceled or like a lot of blowback, a lot of pushback that people might not like. But like honestly, you have to have the courage to just be yourself and you have to have the self-awareness to know what that self is. So that's what I would say is the first thing. The second one is to get the unique experiences, you have to actually do stuff. And I think that's why there's not going to be a huge saturation with unique content because the internet rewards you for the perception of yourself. And in other words, like people will view you through the lens of what you write, not through the lens of how you act. That's like one disconnect with the internet to reality. So people think like, okay, if I just say the other things that are working, then I can be perceived as that person. But the problem is you can't speak authentically unless you've done it and you have the experience. Like when I talk about ghostwriting, and one of my most popular threads that I got the most DMs about is when I talked about how I scaled my agency to 70K per month and it actually broke my systems. And I had one client that like house of cards my entire business and I went into like a depression. I wasn't really happy with the vehicle. Like you can't write a thread like that unless you've done it. Like you have to do it. So the thing I would say to be more unique, and it's actually like pretty straightforward. People on YouTube blow up on this stuff all the time. Like scroll through Twitter and look at what's really popular and what people are saying. And let's, for productivity, maybe they're saying do the Pomodoro technique. Do the Pomodoro technique for 7 days and then actually reflect on like, did I like it? Did I not like it? Did it work? Did it not work? What are the shortcomings? What would I prefer if it didn't work? Or like, do I recommend people do it? And then just write about that. Like actually do things in the real world so you have experience. Like it sounds so simple that it's like bad advice, but it's actually true. It's like you can't just sit there and rewrite what everyone else is saying. Like take topics that are popular and that people care about and that they have an awareness around, like take action in the real world and then share that experience. Like now you have uniqueness.
100%. And I have a couple ideas based off that point that I really like. So, for example, I wrote an Andrew Huberman thread, and you see a million of those on Twitter, right? Like everybody's talking about
Yeah.
Huberman's top 5 tips. But mine went so viral that he retweeted it and it got like 5 million views because I filtered it through my lens. Because I said,
Yeah.
I went through this self improvement journey. I tried all these different things. Here are the top 10 things I learned from Huberman that helped me in my personal growth journey. And then I laid them out and gave my own take on like how that experience felt. And so it's so valid and it's such a good point. I never thought about it like that until now you say it. And now it's helping me understand like, okay, that's why that thread went viral because I gave my unique, nuanced take. There's another guy on YouTube named Andrew Kirby. He grew a huge following, millions of subscribers, I believe. And his whole idea is like content synthesis. And so he grew huge on YouTube. Like I tried Marcus Aurelius's morning routine for 30 days and like
Yeah.
millions of views, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a really validated idea. Everybody knows Marcus Aurelius. Everybody knows Andrew Huberman. But like, what is your experience with it? I love that take.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that take. Going back to your first point about like, you need self-awareness and courage. How can somebody build self-awareness?
That's a really tough one. This one, I think you build it through reflection, I would say, is probably reflection and iteration. Like you have to do things and then reflect on like how you honestly feel about them and what like your unique perspective is. Like that would probably be like one thing. Another thing too is like people will tell you, like I think your friends will tell you, and if you create enough content, the framing of your content will also tell you, like you just have to look for the signs. Like I've noticed writing for a lot of people that there are very tactical micro thinkers, and then there's big picture thinkers. So for example, like Dan Coe is a big picture thinker. Like philosophy as a general idea is usually a big picture type of thing. It's like, okay, looking at the overarching idea of your entire life, like how should you act? Looking at like the span of like until you're old, like how should you be? Like that's thinking of the big picture perspective of someone's life. Now, if someone else, maybe like Joey Justice, is like, hey, here's how to be productive on a day to day basis, like he's thinking as a micro, like tactical thinker. So, like, there's one thing right there you can become more self aware of is like, do you see the world in terms of like big picture, like long time horizons, or do you see the world as like a day to day, like, like my emotions are always fluctuating and I'm very in my emotions, or like I'm very tactical and I want to share very tactical advice? Like, that, there's something you can become more self aware about. But if you just create a lot of content, I think your personality will start to shine, and you just need to get the reps. Like I'll say, when I started on Twitter, man, 18 months ago, I kind of forget about this, like unless I think about it. I really didn't want to post. Like I was scared shitless. Like I honestly was so scared to post. I'm like, people aren't gonna like it. What if I say something dumb? What if like somebody corrects me and it's completely wrong? And like, then how am I gonna feel about it? I don't know what I have to say. I don't know like what people are going to want to hear. Like, how do I make sure my writing's as good as like other people? I'm going to be compared to them. And I just started writing. And for the first 6 to 7 months, it was garbage, like absolute hot garbage writing. The ideas didn't make any sense. I had no idea who I was and what I wanted to say. But like the common advice that writing is like ordered consciousness, or like journaling helps you like sort through your own mind. Like if you just start writing on Twitter and you reflect on it, and like you'll just become more self-aware. Like it's the act of like developing self-awareness is probably writing and reflecting on said writing.
I think that's really well said. And I can resonate with the being scared as hell at first on Twitter. I remember like sitting in my college dorm room, like with the tweet ready to be sent because I'd been following Dakota and like I saw his Twitter. I was like, and one of my friends was like, dude, you should be writing on there too. Cause I was writing a newsletter at that point. And I had my whole college football team following me. I had my whole high school basically following me. And I'm like, oh my God, what is everybody going to think of me? And I remember hitting send and just like cringing so hard. I was like, what the hell did I just do? But now at this point, I don't even
Yeah.
think twice. Now it's just like, oh, I have an idea. I'll put it out there. Right. And so
Yeah.
one of my coaching clients actually asked me the question. He's like, I don't know what to write about. Like, I don't know what my voice is. Like, how can I find my voice? And my advice to him was like, you don't find your voice by thinking about what your voice is. You find your voice by doing the thing. And eventually it
Yeah.
evolves as you progress, because your writing ability on day one is not going to be the same as on day 100, or imagine day 1,000. And you'll be able to so much
Yeah.
better articulate your thoughts through the written word, because Nicholas Verge put this really well. He's like, writing is so powerful because there's a disconnect between the mind and the paper or the keyboard. And so
Yeah.
to be a really clear writer, you have to become a really clear thinker. So it's like a
Yeah.
forcing function for understanding yourself and understanding your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
True.
but yeah, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on like how one could find their voice through writing.
No, I actually agree with like everything that you said there. I also think of it like, if I make the analogy that no one ever asks like, how do I speak more authentically? Like, what's my speaking voice? Like they just speak. But like your friends that are close to you can usually imitate you if they wanted to. Like they can just like make fun of you and mock you in your voice. So you don't try to have a speaking voice, but you have one. And your writing voice is probably just your speaking voice. You just need to learn how to stop being so critical and analytical about it and just write the way that you would speak.
Mm.
But one like other tip that hasn't been said yet is like, what creators do you resonate with? And they probably write kind of similar to you to some degree, because we tend to like resonate with people who remind us of ourselves or the person that we want to be. Like I think that was like something I learned in a college that was actually extremely valuable. Something, for once. But like I had a personal development teacher who said that he's like, whoever you look up to, you probably look up to them because you see yourself in them. So if you go to like other writing accounts, like I really resonate with these writers, maybe you see like your writing voice or who you want to be, or like a kind of an angle or a type of approach that you would take. And that's probably why you resonate with them. So that can give you a lot of direction as well.
That's another great point. And now I'm thinking about like the writers and the creators who I really resonate with. It's been a gradual evolution, but it's been like Jordan Peterson, like Dan Coe, Justin Scott as of recently, Naval,
Yeah.
delving more into like Alan Watts. And now, like, as I continue to consume more of these people, I realize my writing style starts to reflect them. Not to say
Yeah.
I'm mimicking them or copying them, but like your writing style is developed by what you read. And I've heard this quote. It's like every great writer has read a lot or lived a lot. And so that goes back to like doing stuff in the real world, which I think if you can do both, if you can read a lot and have a lot of life experiences, you'll have so much content and ideas to draw on. But one
Yeah.
thing, going back to that awareness piece and like the introspection and reflection, something that's been huge for me for this has been doing psychedelics and massively introspecting. And I know you had a recent experience. So can we talk a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, I'm assuming you mean doing ayahuasca.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, ayahuasca was crazy. I've done like mushrooms, LSD, and stuff like that before, but ayahuasca was really incredible because it felt like this medicine like went inside of me and unlocked my subconscious mind. And to preface this, like one thing I'm really thinking about in terms of peak performance is alignment of your conscious and subconscious mind. That's when you hit peak performance.
Mm.
And what ayahuasca did is it felt like it went in and it looked at my conscious mind. It was like, okay, this is like the goals and the rules and where you want to go. And it understood it. Like it felt like it knew me better than I knew myself. And then it felt like the medicine went to my subconscious mind and was like, okay, what's going on back here? Like, what do you actually believe? What's hardwired in your brain and your nervous system? And are these two things aligned or are they disconnected? And ayahuasca is like, ooh, like when it first really hit me, it actually felt like a spirit snake, as weird as that sounds, like going through my body. And it was like looking for parts of my nervous system that were tight. And it would like poke them and it'd be like, ooh, like what the heck is this? Like, why is this part of your body so tight? Like there's something in your subconscious mind that's like you've never let go of. You're like holding on to it. It's not serving you anymore. Like you need to get it out. And it just allowed me in the first session to get out all of this trauma and all this baggage that was embedded in my like brain and my nervous system that was holding me back from becoming the person that I want to be. And then I felt so light and so free and was like, oh, like my limiting beliefs have just been shattered. Like I feel like a new person. And in order to do that, like if you think about rewiring your nervous system or your brain, that usually comes from like conscious effort. Most people actually don't know this. Maybe it's modern science, but your brain's like moldability actually changes after the age of 25, and you can still change your brain circuits with extremely high amounts of conscious effort in one particular area. So when people say you can't change after 25, it's not true. It's that it takes a lot more effort and we'll say consistency to change. But it felt like ayahuasca just went in and was like, oh, like these parts of your brain here, like they're not really working for where you want to go. Instead of it taking you 5 or 10 years to change them, like, boom, we're just going to route around them so you don't have to do that. And that's what it felt like it did.
Wow. That's a crazy experience. I haven't had it yet. I probably will at some point in the future. And we talked about this a couple days ago on a call. Like I was debating, like, okay, I'm only 21. Maybe I don't want to delve into this quite yet. But you told me that you wish you did it earlier. And so
Yeah.
now my beliefs around that are kind of changing. But I remember I texted you after I knew you went and had this experience, and I said, like, how was it? And you responded and you said, like, my family tells me I'm a completely new man. Like, I just feel so different. So what are some of those specific things that you feel changed in yourself?
Yeah, dude, that a lot of my friends are like, dude, you're actually a new person. Like you look lighter, you don't take yourself so seriously. You seem a lot more confident and like assured of yourself. My girlfriend was even like, you went into that as a boy and left a man. Like literally, that's what my girlfriend said. I was like, holy crap. I was like, sucks. My girlfriend always seen me as a boy for all these years, but I was like, great that it's changed now. Um, but I think the biggest things that changed were like ayahuasca is a very experiential drug. It's like they say that you get downloads, and it's so true. Like it was showing me like the version of myself that I could be, and it didn't make me into that person, but it opened that door. So okay, imagine you're like trying to get to 10K per month as a content creator, and you have all these other people that have done it. So to them, they're like, okay, I've seen the door, I've opened it, and I've walked through it, and now that door is always open. If I want to make 10K per month, I just walk through it. But until you've done it, you just hear of all these other people doing it. but it's not like a reality for you. Like you don't have this like firm belief that like, oh yeah, I just go to that door, open it, and then I can make 10K per month. It felt like what the ayahuasca did is it's like, oh, you want to be confident? Well, I'm going to show you, like, you're going to experience true confidence. And now you have a reference point in your mind of like a frame of being that you can be. It doesn't mean you're all of a sudden a confident person. But now when I'm like, oh, like, what would it be like to be confident? I'm like, oh, I know that. I've experienced it. It's like, what would it feel like to be mission driven and purpose driven and like be so unwavering in the things that I'm going to accomplish in life that I will not compromise for anyone? I know what that's like. What would it feel like to be like so madly in love with like your girlfriend and like to see her as this like perfect, like radiant feminine beauty and to be like an anchor as like a masculine man for her to kind of like dance around and just like be her true self? Like I felt that in that ceremony. Like everything that I wanted, the ayahuasca was like, we're gonna get you there. And now that those doors are open in your brain, like you've been that person, you have the choice just to continue to walk through it and like become that person more often or more consistently. And that was like, I would say the biggest change that happened to me is that everything that I wanted that felt out of reach, ayahuasca's like, I just put it within your grasp. But you still have to do the work and you have to go get it.
Have there been times post the experience where you haven't been acting in alignment with that higher self and you've brought yourself back to it because of that experience?
Yes, 100%. I, this point in my life, I always used to see like this version of me that I could be as like one day I'm going to get there. And then I'm always that person. Like I am now the best version of myself. I just don't think that's true anymore. I think the best version of ourselves is like a choice that has to be made every single day. And, Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, like a lot of other people say a version of this, but it really resonated with me after that. It's like, don't believe things that make you feel weak. Like, don't do things that make you feel weak. And when I did Aya, there was like certain things that I thought and believed that made me a better version of myself. And then when I'm off of it, there's certain things I could think and believe that make me a weak version of myself that I don't feel very powerful. Like, for example, let's say that I really want to go to the gym 5 days a week and I miss like 2 days in a row. There's this voice in my head that's like, you're not a fitness person. You're like, you missed 2 days in a row. Like, you're not the kind of person who takes his health seriously. And then I start having all of this like layered judgment around myself. And it doesn't make me feel good. Like, I feel very weak. And then there's this other voice that's like, oh, we missed 2 days in a row. Why don't we go tomorrow? Or why don't we go today? And I'm like, yeah, let's just go today. And then I leave the gym, I feel great. And I like feel confident. And I'm like, I did something that I wanted to do. And like the Aya just showed me it's such a choice, man. Like there's just certain ways of like viewing the world and situations that will just not make you feel good. And they're not going to take you in a positive direction, even if they are like scientifically true. And then there's other things that you can believe and think and feel about yourself, and and they cause you to act in ways that create evidence for you being that person, and you might as well believe those things.
I definitely resonate with that stuff, all of it. And it's interesting that like you've followed these people beforehand, like let's say a Jordan Peterson, who is like telling you how to act in accordance with your highest self, and you know it, you think you know it, you have an idea of what that would be like, and is giving you a glimpse into what it would feel like. You have this experience where you are in this elevated state of consciousness. That's how I really feel it is. It's like the drug is to be in that elevated state of consciousness, almost a state of enlightenment, potentially. And so then you have a real understanding, like, oh, this is what Jordan Peterson means when he says this. Like, you actually feel it in your soul, and you can carry that not even on every day, but like every minute of every day. I was having this thought the other night and I tweeted this. It was like, if at every moment of your day, you can just act in alignment with your higher self, everything will take care of itself. Your money problems, your girl problems, everything will take care of itself if you can hold that in your mind. I think where I sometimes have slipped up in the past is I lose sight of that higher self and I just completely slip into degeneracy. So for you, like, do you have any practices that keep you in that higher state or keep you aligned that you try to do on a daily, weekly basis?
I don't know if this is the right answer to this question, but this is something my co-founder Dale and I were chatting about today, actually. So this is what comes to mind is as like an ambitious person or like a type A, like I feel like I have the curse of ambition. Like it's kind of this like double-edged sword where when you're really ambitious, you can achieve a lot, but it's so easy to fall short of your own expectations that you feel like shit. And what I've noticed is if I don't do hard things, I just feel like bad about myself. Like it, maybe the real answer to this is self-awareness, like or meta-awareness, like not only being self-aware of who you are, but also having the meta-awareness to be aware of how you're feeling about your feelings. Like that's a really big one. Like, oh, I'm feeling bad, and then you feel bad for feeling bad, or like, oh, I missed the gym, so I feel like crap. And now, like, oh, I'm like lazy and I'm such a piece of crap, and now I feel bad that I'm beating myself up about like not going to the gym. It's like, like I find if I just do hard things, I feel good about myself. And like that sounds so oversimplified, but it's true. If like I said that I was going to get up at 3 or 4 a.m., so I do it. And does it suck to get up? Yeah. But does it suck even more if I sleep in and then the first thought I have in the day is like, fuck, I let myself down? Like that's a worse feeling than just getting up at 3. Like going to the gym and like experiencing the pain of the weights is not as painful as not going and feeling like a loser. Like not like knowing what I can do. Like there's this curse, I think, of responsibility that once you know what you should be doing, you now like will just feel like crap if you don't do it. It's a total curse, man. Like as a creator, I know I should be putting out like 2 newsletters a week. I should be writing 2 threads, 2 tweets a day, repurposing to LinkedIn, like like working on my agency, working on the next product. If I don't do that stuff, like I can't delude myself. Like I know that I'm not doing what I need to do, and then I just feel like crap. So to be the best version of myself, I just do the hard things that I know that I should do, realizing that if I don't do them, I'm just going to feel worse. And I would rather not feel that. I'd rather feel temporarily bad doing hard things. So that's how I view it. At least.
Yeah, it is definitely such a double-edged sword, the high achieving mentality, because okay, yes, you're going to achieve more, you're going to make more money, you're going to live a great lifestyle that you're very proud of, but at the same time it's like it's never quite enough. You know the standard you have to live up to. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I went to a coffee shop in the afternoon just to like do some extra work, cleaning some stuff up because I was a little bit stressed because I'm like in the process of trying to build my own coaching program, these modules and everything. And I was like, oh my God, I was feeling so overwhelmed, so tense. And I was watching this guy who works as a barista at this coffee shop. Like he works on the beach, he surfs all the time, he's just super chill. And it got me thinking like, damn, like that's kind of a sweet life. Like he doesn't have this curse of like, fuck, should I be doing more? So it's something to balance. Something that helped me actually get out of that mental state last night, and I recommend anybody watch this video that's like a high achiever or stressed a lot. It's called Work as Play by Alan Watts, and I could link it down in the show notes too. But I watched that thing last night after I was stressing, and I've watched it so many times now, and it's just such a good mental reminder of like this stress, it's like all self-imposed, right? If you actually think about the environment you're in, like we're fine. We're not starving, we're not hungry, we're okay. And you can choose to see the work as a burden, or you could choose to see it as something that is playful, like a game or a dance. And if you zoom out, that's kind of what all this social media stuff is anyway, right? It's like the great
Yeah.
online game. It is a game. And so
Yeah.
that helped me reframe my mind so that this morning when I went and I wrote my first email, my email sequence, and I wrote my first module of my course, I didn't see it as such a burden. I saw it as like something that was pure creation and playful. And so that's been a huge mental reframe for me whenever I'm feeling tense. Like, how can I make this feel like play?
Good. It removes like the judgment. I have a really weird reframe that I had recently around getting rid of stress and like tension. I never even thought I'd ever share this publicly, so this will be like one of the weirdest things I ever say on a podcast. But
Perfect.
um, okay, so I was reading the book The Way of the Superior Man, basically like because my girlfriend and I are talking about getting married. I'm really, looking at. I'm researching a lot into like that area of relationship dynamics right now. And there was a quote in there that made me kind of laugh, and that had a lasting impression on me. It talks about how like women do shit tests. Do you know what a shit test is? Have you ever heard of this?
Yes, yes. I've read the book too.
Yeah.
It's a
So
great book.
yeah, it's fantastic. So the shit test thing, how like women will just test you to like see if you actually stand behind what you say and what you do, and if you're strong enough to maybe like be with their feminine energy that's kind of like chaotic or like their emotions are always changing or something, right? And in the book, it's like you always withstand your woman's shit test, right? Like you stand strong, you like believe in what you say. If it's like even challenging you, you're gonna rise to the occasion and you're gonna like win the challenge because that's what being masculine is. Like, and I actually agree. Like I think that way of looking at masculinity is very healthy. But then it said in there, view the world as feminine, and when it tests you, like fuck it to smithereens. And I like kind of laughed. I was like, that's so aggressive. But then I was like, man, view the world as feminine. Like that is such a cool way to view challenges because when
Yeah.
my girlfriend shit tests me, I'm like, oh, I know it's a shit test and I should just like pass it. But then like I don't think of it that way with the world. Like if something bad happens, I'm like, oh fuck, and I get this like victim mentality of like, woe is me, this thing's happening, and it's like there's nothing I can do about it, or like I never like deserved this or whatever. But when I just look at the world as feminine and I'm like, okay, something bad happened, like the world's giving me a shit test, like am I gonna pass it? I just like have an easier time with the world's problems for some reason. Like it just like clicked for me where I'm like, okay, every problem the world throws at me is a shit test. Like, am I masculine enough to survive the shit test? And now like I feel a lot less stressful about anything that comes up. It's weird.
I don't think it's weird at all. I love that mental reframe and like to tie in some Jordan Peterson and like some Eastern stuff too. Like the world is feminine. Like the world is chaos, right? It has to be
Yeah.
navigated with order. And like as the masculine, you combat that chaos with your order. And like it's called Mother
Yeah.
Earth, it's called Mother Ayahuasca. All these things are the divine
Yes.
feminine energy. And like how can we put our masculinity into that and rise above it? I love that. Another idea that came up when you were talking is Hamza was a big YouTuber I was into a couple months ago. Now I'm not as into his stuff. But
Yep.
he talked about the way of the superior man a ton. And he was basically like, hold your seed, like channel all of that energy into the world and excuse my language, but he's just like, just fuck the world. Like just absolutely like ravish the world. So that is a wild concept, but I think that's a great mental reframe that I'm gonna actually take whenever I'm feeling stressed now.
Nice. Yeah, I love it, man. Like the masculine feminine stuff, I wasn't really into it for a long time. But when I was on the ayahuasca retreat, it actually made me more in tune with it, I would say, because I think Dakota's opening up like a bunch of lunch. I don't know how loud that is over there. It's probably just like crackling like crazy in the mic.
It's all
Um,
good. We'll keep it raw. We'll keep it
well,
authentic.
yeah, yeah, there we go. It's authentic. You got roommates up in here just like eating a bunch of junk food.
I thought he's cutting. What happened to that?
No, I think he is. I just can't see what he's eating. I think he's eating tacos. So off topic, but yeah. So when we went to ayahuasca, there was five guys, I think total, and then everyone else was like women or feminine. And Jordan Peterson says this a lot too. He says in a society where you just leave men and women to like their own devices with less gender roles, like cultural influences, women tend to become more like feminine and men tend to become more masculine. Dude, when we were at Aya, by the end of the retreat, all the guys became way more masculine and all the women became way more feminine. Like even the masculine women that were there that are like, we're boss babes, we are just like inner masculine, we are crushing it. They literally said on the last day, like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm feminine. And
Wow.
there was this moment in the second ceremony where this certain song was playing. It was very delicate and it was really beautiful because they guide the trip with music. And I could just feel the feminine energy that all the women were just kind of like swaying and dancing and they wanted to get up. And I think they did. They got up and they started dancing like really flowy. And I didn't feel the need to actually get up and dance with them. But like what my gut instinct told me was as the masculine guy, like you need to actually sit up taller with your shoulders back and you need to create this safe place for these women to just let it go and be in their emotions, knowing that if anything happens, the men in the room will take care of it. And that will allow them to be more carefree. And later on, we're reflecting on it. We're in this circle, and it's called an integration circle. And we're chatting about, like, here's our experiences, here's our downloads. And I realized that I wasn't spending enough time with women in my life. I was hanging out with guys a lot. But once I spent time with really feminine women, my energy naturally matched their polarity and I rose to the occasion and became more masculine. So this
Mm.
thing that I was like, the download I had was that you become more masculine by rising to the chaotic power of the feminine. And all the women are just like, oh my God. And it was kind of a funny moment. They were just like, that's so true. And I do actually believe that. Like, if women want to feel totally free in their emotions and like do whatever they feel, they have to know that someone is going to keep the order and keep it together if something bad happens. Otherwise, they're kind of guarded. They can't be as free. And that to me was just such a cool moment to understand what it meant to be masculine and to like hold space for chaotic feminine energy and like that. We don't want to like run away from that energy. We don't want to find it annoying. Like it's different from us, but it's like it can make you such an incredible man. Like to be a masculine man, I think you have to be able to run with men and dance with women. That's what I would say. That was like the true
Mm,
realization.
damn, what an insight. That's
Yeah.
fascinating that you came to that conclusion and you really felt it happen. And it's also interesting
Mhm.
how like the men naturally gravitated to the more masculine. The females gravitated towards the more feminine. And
Yeah.
on a societal level, like you said, like that naturally happens as well. Now I think it's a tragedy. Like I don't know how far we want to go into this, but I think it's a tragedy that like all of these young women are told like I need to go get this corporate job and like become this big baller and like make all the money and be the breadwinner. And yes, okay, that's great. Like they should have the opportunity to do that, like obviously. But I do believe like that might be causing a lot of depression in these girls because they're going to have to compete with these super masculine men who can never turn it off. Like, those
Yeah.
alpha male business types, like, you're probably one of them yourself. Like, you're up at 3 a.m. grinding, grinding, grinding. And if somebody has more naturally feminine tendencies, they're probably going to want to sleep in and then they can't keep up. And then it's just this whole cycle. Um, but yeah, the masculine and feminine polarity is fascinating. I've been observing that as well here a little bit in Costa Rica. I've only been here a little bit, but it
Yeah.
seems like people are more in their natural states here. Like I went out last
Yeah.
Friday to this bar and all these girls, like these Latina girls, I just see how they move and they move different than the
Yeah.
girls from the United States. They're just so free and like they're just so free in their emotions and their body and it's fascinating to see that and you don't see that in this like 9 to 5 corporate feminine trying to be masculine thing in America. I don't know if I'm off
Yeah.
there, but that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think it's great that we have a lot of optionality in today's world, but with optionality doesn't always come happiness and like peace of mind, unfortunately. Because when you're so free to do whatever you want, you have the burden of responsibility, which sucks. And I think right now, like the gender roles are kind of forced into being swapped. Like I do think on a cultural level, we are told that men should be more like passive and weak and like not really be ambitious, and that women are told they should be more ambitious. And I do think it works for some people. Okay, here's maybe a funny example. I watched Game of Thrones for the first time recently. I'd never seen it, and I watched the first 4 seasons. And when I watch a movie that just has all these stoic masculine women, I just am not like I just don't find it to be like a very appealing characters. I just am like, it feels kind of forced. When I watch
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones and you have a majority of masculine men and a majority of feminine women, and then you throw Arya and Brienne in the mix, who are like the two masculine like female characters, they are so compelling as like a minority. I think it's like they just become so
Mm.
cool because they play off the feminine. And I love that Arya's character is like she wants to be like more of a guy. Same with Brienne, but the world doesn't see her that, and it's a compelling message that I really vibe with. But if you're asking me that, like, if I think that most women feel that way, probably not. And I, I think that it's important for both men and women just to be self-aware. Maybe you do fit into like the opposite role, but like try that on for yourself. Like, how happy are you? Like, how do you feel? I find with like me and my girlfriend in particular, which I can speak more from experience, when we're not like together in person, she becomes like naturally more masculine and takes on more of like a provider. I need to like work and like care for myself. But when we're together, as long as I can like rise to match like her feminine energy, she becomes so feminine. Like so feminine. We go vacationing together, she is so different. She's just like letting loose, having fun, being very playful, like, and
Yeah.
her energy and her radiance just like fills me up so much and just it's so attractive and it's just amazing to see. But I find it only happens when she knows that like I can fill the masculine role, and it makes me wonder like these more masculine women, there probably are just like masculine women, I know there are for sure, but if
Yeah.
a majority of women would feel more feminine if they were more masculine men, and if it would like bring that out in them, and they would feel safe to do so, knowing that it's like a healthy form of masculinity. So that'd be my take on it.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. And I'm curious now because I'm not in a relationship right now. I'm still very young. But do you feel like having that sidekick fuels your business and personal growth to a different level?
Dude, I love this question. So I had this crazy download when I did ayahuasca, and I did like a form of MDMA therapy, like self therapy with MDMA. That was extremely helpful as well. I had this download both times. Is I've always like had a lot of judgment on myself for not having this ambitious edge to just like crush it, become a millionaire, and get a Lamborghini and like a yacht. Like there's a lot of these guys that are like, that's what I want. I get up in the morning and I'm like, I want the status, and I go for it, and they're so hungry. And I've just never had that. And I've always felt like maybe I wasn't a man because of that. I wasn't masculine. But I realized that I'm just so driven by providing for a family that it gives me that edge from a different way. Like
Mm.
when my girlfriend and I started talking about getting married and having kids, I was like, the second that happens, it's fucking game over for my competition. Like I will do anything once I have a family to provide for. Like I have such a strong purpose for getting up and doing the things I don't want to do because my family relies on my income. These kids look up to me as like a father figure and someone that they want to learn how to model the world from. So I have to be my best self. Like, people can make fun of me all they want and like shit on me for not being able to find that like as a single guy, but I just couldn't. But the second I started talking with my girlfriend about marriage and kids, something in me just like lit up and I was like, let's go. Like my business has grown and like headed in a completely different direction since my girlfriend and I started talking about having kids. And dude, I swear, it gives me such a strong, it makes me so masculine. Like having her around and like her feminine just makes me better. Like if I'm being like a boy, she'll check me hard, dude. She's not afraid to be like, I'm not dating a boy. Like, are you gonna grow up or like am I gonna find another man? Like she's not that blunt with it, but she has that energy to her where she's like, I don't date boys. Like grow the fuck up. And I love it, dude, because I don't want to be a boy. Like I want to be a masculine man who's like who can provide for his family. I love that she just like brings that out of me. It makes me so much better in every way. So I like for me, the family aspect is a huge driver. And maybe I get that from my dad. I don't know, but I just like I found when I didn't have a family, I just wasn't as motivated. I just didn't want to do things. It just like it was, I lost my edge. But the family for me gives me my edge back.
It's fascinating because it sounds like you're driven by something outside of yourself, like helping other people, doing something to
Yeah.
provide for other people. And I think I can resonate a lot with that too because I don't give a shit about like a Lamborghini or a mansion or any of that stuff. Like it does not matter to me at all. And I always question why I wasn't like driven for that stuff either. And then I stumbled across like the 9 stages of ego development, actually like
Yeah.
via Dan Coe. He's talked about that a lot. And basically like the money, the cars, the houses, all that stuff on those lower stages of ego development, like you're very worried about like the materialist. But as you rise up the stages of ego development, and actually that means your ego usually is dissolving, it means you care about things outside of yourself more. So those things are kind of trivial. And yeah, maybe you can have them at some point as a byproduct, but to make them the main goal, I don't even know if it's necessarily a bad
Yeah.
thing. I think it actually might be a sign of growth. Like that gives me no source of drive and energy. My main download that I got, so to back up, like a couple months ago, I did a solo LSD trip, and I'm not recommending this to anybody like at all, but it was very helpful for me. And the main download I had is like the impact I want to have, I don't care even about myself in that very much. I want my message to spread and help other people's lives. I want to shed light on other people's lives. And I realized I want to do that through the mechanisms of podcasting and writing, which can impact millions of lives. That is what is going to keep me on this path. And for a while, I took a little bit of a break with the podcast, but having that download from that, but it came from a place of, okay, like I don't really want to be famous. I don't want millions of dollars from my books, from my podcast. But if the message podcast that it stopped me from taking action. But when I reframed it to how can I impact the world, I've taken more action in the past month, introspective experience and realigning with what I actually wanted to do, because I was so caught in this like, how do I grow followers? How do I make more money? How do I grow a pod or two than I have in like the past year?
Love, love it, dude. I can attest to like Dale and I were talking about this the other day too. We haven't really like figured out how to internalize it, but we were talking about maybe purpose is just what gives you the emotion to like persist through the hard things. Like what's like the higher level why? Like is that purpose? Because I found when I wasn't like when I'm not around my girlfriend, when I'm talking about family and stuff, I'm still like moderately ambitious, like maybe more than the average person, but I don't have that same level of edge. But the second she's around, it's like it chemically like changes me. And I'm just like, let's go. I have so much purpose. I'm so hungry. Like, let's crush it. And I feel like I have a reason to do things that I didn't have before,
Mm-hmm.
which is very odd. One download though beyond this that I did is that it's not healthy to attach like this family-based purpose to a specific woman, and that it's actually better to just attach it to the overarching mission itself. So I would say, like, just for some nuance here, like my mission is to be able to provide for a family of like a really good level of income that gives them a lot of safety and security, and spend a lot more time with my kids than the average father can by implementing high leverage. Whether that happens like with my current girlfriend or somebody else, I will not compromise that mission. It is my purpose to fulfill that role. I just became aware of that through spending more time with my girlfriend. And like again, now that that door's open, like I can't shut it. So that's I think as a masculine, that's very important because when you attach it to one specific woman or one specific woman, you all of a sudden can become a little bit compromising in your mission and your values because you want to keep her around. But when you attach it to be the mission in general, you're actually willing to lose the woman that you're with if it compromises the mission. And I think as much as that sounds like it's not healthy, I actually think that it allows you to come from a better frame of mind and have a better relationship when you're like that.
All right, we
Yeah,
were talking a lot about the masculine and feminine, but for the last couple minutes of this, I kind of wanted to pivot it more to like maybe tactical advice for a new creator. So, if you had to like give
sure.
one piece of advice to yourself who was just starting off, what would you say to him?
You know, it's funny because I really hate when people give me this advice, but I would probably say like take more action and be willing to iterate and pivot quicker. I think that's like the thing is like really understanding how knowledge works. Like Naval has a quote that goes something like this, like first you're aware of it, then you know it, and then you are it, or something like that. It's I'm like super paraphrasing. That's a really rough version of that. But I really realized that like you knowledge and like knowing what to do comes from experiencing it until it's baked into your nervous system. And you can just do it. And if you just take like if you're thinking about it all the time, and a lot of these creators are always trying to solve everything by thinking like, oh, I can't write until I know my niche. Like, oh, like I'm not a good enough writer yet, so I can't post. It's like, dude, that's just stopping you from actually learning because you're not doing the reps that will allow you to truly understand something and like have those downloads. Just take like more consistent action, but also reflect weekly on like what worked and didn't work and do your best and like talk to mentors to try to like figure those problems out and systematically solve them. You will move so fast with that system. Like execute quick, be willing to pivot, iterate rigorously, and ask for feedback along the way. If you just do that and are intentional about it, you will be a success in no time.
That is such good advice, and I'd probably give myself the exact same advice if I could go back, but our conversation a couple of days ago really helped me clarify this in my head because you were like, okay, you don't actually know how to do a project or like start a course or community unless you just do the thing. Like you don't actually have knowledge except you have unless you have action. And so I don't know if it was you who said this or somebody else, but there's a quote. It's like the work unveils itself as you go. And that has been really resonating with me over the past couple days because if I even take 3 days ago, I had no email sequence, no course, no modules, no plan for my coaching clients. And I was so stressed about it. And now that I've just taken action over the past 3 days, like I see the roadmap in front of me now, but it only happened by acting on that knowledge. So I really appreciate you you shining that light on me because that's so helpful.
Yeah, no, of course. I've never heard that quote before that you just said, but damn, that's damn good. And I resonate with that too. Like I'm in the middle of a product launch right now. I've never done a product launch before. I'm just doing the best I can, stumbling in the dark. Like there's this part of me that's like, I believe in myself and I think we can do it. And there's this other part of me that's like, man, this could freaking fail miserably. Like I could launch and no one could sign up for this. Like my marketing could fall flat. I could have targeted the wrong problems. I could have had a bad landing page. I could have priced it incorrectly. There's a million reasons to be scared
Mm.
about taking action here and like doing it incorrectly. But I'm just like, let's do the best we can. Let's talk to Dakota and like other people who have done it and get their feedback on it and what they think. I have a call with like Virgil Brewster, I think his name is, tomorrow. He's grown like education companies to like 10 million. And we're going to talk like, how do we actually get this to 1 to 3 million in 12 months? Like, talk to those people. And I'm just, I just have a lot of skin in the game. Like, let's just do the best we possibly can. And if we fall short, at least we can learn and do version two. What's the
Right.
worst thing
And
that happens?
I think that's so important for like newer creators, especially to hear. It's like, okay, they're probably looking to you as a major authority, right? But you're even saying like, I don't even know exactly what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out as I go. And that's such a common theme. It's like if you're at the edge of some field or some craft, you're going to have to figure things out by yourself pretty much. You can have input from other people, but it doesn't stop you from doing the work. And there's a there's an interesting idea. It's like when you have a predefined path, like if you're on like the 9 to 5 career track, for example, and the steps are laid out in front of you, you can clearly see the path ahead. But if you're carving your own path, your unique path, it reveals itself one step at a time. Past that path no one has ever walked down before, it only you can't see because it's completely unknown and you're going
Cool.
down your own thing. And so that's why it's like embrace the uncertainty, embrace the not knowing because that's part of going your own way. If you knew,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be on an adventure, you wouldn't be doing anything exciting. That's how I'd try to reframe it in my head.
Yeah. I like that you said excitement. Going back to like, going real circular to the beginning of this, when we talked about how like your best self is a choice, like everything in life is a double-edged sword. Like uncertainty is scary, but it's also exciting. Like you can choose which one you want to go more in on. Like that one especially, I've grown to really dance with a little bit more. We'll say like uncertainty. Like I felt uncertain and scared as hell when I quit my job to do full-time ghostwriting. I was like, I get scared as crap every time Twitter changes an algo because I'm like, man, my whole business could go bust if Twitter changes the wrong thing. Like there's so much uncertainty, but there's this like, once you look at life as feminine, you're like, all right, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
Like I'll rise to the occasion, make me better. Like when I say like my girlfriend challenges me and makes me a better version of myself, like look at life the same way. Like what else do you got from like for me? I'll rise to the occasion and like I'll do everything I can to not be broken by it, to become better. I just think that's a healthier way to approach life.
I agree. I didn't expect this conversation to turn the overarching theme of it to be like embrace the femininity of the world, but like I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. It's so true. We're coming up on probably a little bit over an hour here with the cut, so I think it might be a good time to wrap up. But before we do, if you want to just promo the cohort, when is it releasing? What can people expect? Where can they find it?
Yeah, dude. Cohort is called Your Digital Identity. We're gonna actually be doing the cohort on August 14th, but we're gonna start. Let me actually even look at the date. What date do I have planned for when we're gonna launch this? We're gonna start. We're gonna open up the doors for it on August 4th. So people will be able to just like come check me out on Twitter. We're gonna be giving away like so much stuff. We're even gonna give away some free spots for it as well because we do just want to have like get as many people excited about this as possible. Whether people want to pay for it or not, it's something we really believe in, like so freaking bullish on, and we've spent 6 months trying to make it a meaningful experience for the people that are a part of it, and we just are so excited about it. We just want to share it. So we'll give so much of it away for free. Just like come check it out. We're so excited about it. I don't know. That's all I really have to say. Just come check it out on Twitter and LinkedIn. You'll see everything, and I hope that you get excited about it as well.
Good stuff. Yeah, and this should be releasing August 4th, the day the doors open. So if you're listening to this on August 4th, check it out. I can vouch for Taylin. He knows his stuff. So anyways, man, I appreciate you doing this again. This is always fun. We'll have to do round 3 maybe in like another 6 months.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe the next one will be in person, man. You never know.
Yeah, if you come to Costa Rica, let's do it.
There we go. You never know.
Yes. All right, man. Appreciate
All
you.
right, cool.